2022 was a hot mess. Music may have been an escape from that, but the disappointments and outright bad albums stacked up like a Lego tower.
No!
I spent 2020 Part 3 cutting way back on new albums so I could laser focus on quality listens over quantity, so join me, some random guy on the internet who thinks that maybe your new favorite album is waiting just around the corner, as I count down the top 25 best albums of 2022. Hey neighbor, welcome to the finale of year-end season 2022. My name is John, and even though I don't have any albums that I would give a perfect score to this year, there was a ton of genuinely fascinating material out there that I can't wait to talk about. I know for a fact that there's plenty of albums that I missed. I am human, I cannot hear everything, but do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe if you love music of all styles ranging from rock to rap, indie pop, and alternative, and let's dive beneath the hype wave to reveal my favorite albums of the year.
And you got lost in it, and yet you found yourself hard pressed for air and sweating, and you said it.
Great storytellers always leave their mark, even if it comes in the form of a scar. And trust me, Preacher's Daughter, however demented or daunting it presents, is a scar you're gonna learn from. Ethel Cain is a stage name, so maybe don't look at this story of a woman who slowly loses her religion only to end up a dead freezer bride for a cannibal as an autobiography. It's more like folklore being passed down, played to the tune of open-air Americana pop with a massive twist. You'll get no argument from me if you're one of the many who see this as a downgrade from the unforgiving monster We Are Not Your Kind, but not necessarily every sidestep ends in disaster, pun intended. Nu metal comes full circle on Slipknot's animalistic LP 7, dive-bombing with the furious Hive Mind, standing tall on the tried and true Dying song, and even bringing back some of Sid Wilson's nasty scratching throughout, with a personal highlight coming on the turntable-heavy Yen.
There's a madman from Manhattan, wearing a man's hat and a floor mat made of satin.
Less adventurous than Fear of the Dawn? Definitely. But the most I've loved a Jack White solo album since Blunderbuss a decade ago? Definitely maybe! The lead-off single Love Is Selfish surprised me with just how much replay value it has. It represents a richness in the mix that brings out the honesty in his voice, and that's felt throughout the album, and also it accents the chill acoustic nature of the guitar. Entering Heaven Alive had me enamored with how simple but effective little treats like the chord progressions and the warm vocal production felt to even out some of the more icy cuts like the amazing If I Die Tomorrow. Not every track has the right balance of magic, but it's still pretty endearing stuff nonetheless.
It's not just me, it's everybody.
Hot take alert, maybe. Natalie Merring, aka Weyes Blood, might have plenty of magic still up her sleeve, but her latest album, despite really still being pretty good in what it offers, is a far cry from the stunning Titanic Rising, and wow, what a downgrade on the album art too. Is she getting a chest x-ray, or did E.T. just phone home? Anyways, this is a best list, not a roast, but yeah, I really thought that Weyes Blood came through with a sultry 70s soft rock inspired winner that paints a pretty effervescent canvas. Natalie ponders the depths of life and love with a sophisticated sense of maturity and restraint that I would expect, except she doubled down, allowing an amalgamation of tender pianos, guitar, and strings to guide this northern star to a boiling point breakthrough.
You abandoned me and I abandoned you too, but we both know I wasn't the one like to, and I'm not scared of people who don't look like me. I'm like, yeah.
Politics are a dumpster fire, and the lads over at Yard Act are on the phone screaming into some diplomat's ear like an unholy cross between Bart Simpson's prank calls and Greta Thunberg's activism. A sneer of apathy rapidly turns into a fluid post-punk movement, sporting an array of jaunty bass lines and deadpan vocals from the mouth and mind of their slightly unhinged frontman James Smith. I was a bit taken back with how much I actually kept gravitating back to the Overload even though this record dropped in the dead of January. They've got got a really impeccable knack for groove, and even though they occasionally come across obnoxious, it generally does benefit the overarching story baked into the message they're selling.
White smirk on your face, you knew the entire time. You knew that I'm a mastermind.
Taylor Swift lined up longtime collaborator Jack Antonoff to make a slightly more cavalier concoction that hits with the magic of 1989 synth pop and just enough of that mean girl streak that didn't really work on Reputation, but it flourishes here on Midnights thanks to its more level-headed mastermind. This isn't me calling this Taylor's comeback of the century or even the gold standard for the superstar going forward, but it is for sure a fun, vibrant listen full of earwormy hooks and a bunch of slick momentum that never fails to make a full listen breeze by.
I was in your wet dream, driving in my car. Saw you at the side of the road. There's no one else around you, touching yourself, touching yourself.
You know I'm not a gimmicks guy, showboat all you want in the marketing, but the music sure as hell better back that up, and this did. Hailing from the Isle of Wight in England, the often expressionless duo Wet Leg generated more buzz than a bee colony with their very matter-of-fact self-titled debut album. Flashes of new wave, post-punk, and a lot of indie amalgamations have this debut packing a witty punch right out of the gate. You can't fake the level of fun they had bringing the songs to life, as evidenced by the burn notice your mom, catchy purveyor of sadness loving you, and the chomping eye roller oh no.
Back to the basics, hop back in the matrix, Gator made back, now it's off to the races.
How exactly does this man that's been rapping about the drug trade for decades still have a stranglehold on the rap game? I think it has everything to do with how suavely Pusha T drifts alongside those classic hip-hop instrumentals, some from you-know-who can go fuck himself and the others from Pharrell Williams, and I really feel that they have a lot of that classic hip-hop affectation, putting his menacing aura that's made him Cocaine's last superhero in the passenger seat. King Push drops once in a blue moon, and his albums rarely clock in at more than 40 minutes, so if you want a tough-as-hell record without the bloated, annoying, cheap thrills, It's Almost Dry delivers all killer, no filler right at your doorstep every time. Half a decade slipped through the sands of time between Alvvays albums, with humanity getting unequivocally altered in the years since we last heard from the Canadian indie poppers, except you'd have no idea that anything had changed at all thanks to the escapism provided by the long-awaited Blue Rev. Creature comforts ooze from every note. Joy, melancholy, and the whole 9 yards. Alec O'Hanley continues aging like a fine wine as both a guitarist and what he contributes to this album Blue Rev, and as the only other founding member left in Alvvays other than Molly. Speaking of Molly, his playing lights up like ecstasy on the juggernaut underdog Pomeranian Spinster, subtly stealing the show when the mood calls for something flashy like maybe the finale of After the Earthquake, or the way he synchronizes so beautifully with the jangly rhythm section found on many mirrors. Bandleader Molly Rankin sounds a little bit lower in the mix this time, which can be frustrating at least in places, but I quickly warmed up to the shoegazy feeling to the point where I don't really see it as a major issue. The discourse around ants from up there is almost universally positive, so there's a huge part of my mind that says, John, there's no way that you're gonna add anything significant to this conversation. But on the off chance that you're not yet familiar with Black Country New Road, allow me to expose you. Imagine a perpetual state of climbing a mountain, except you get dazzling sparks of clarity coming in the moments when you need them most at the peaks. That's kind of what this whole album is. A journey through brokenness framed through the perspective of slowly losing what's left of yourself. Black Country New Road is gonna look different the next time I hear them because their vocalist departed the band right around the release of Ants From Up There. And while this album is a heart-tugging masterpiece in its own right with a lot of slow-burning energy that builds to very unique styled payoffs, I'm still very excited to see the roads they'll pave next. Totally honest first impressions of Formentera? Meh, some bangers, but a lot of disconnect, including the so long I don't know what to make of an opening slot doom scroller. I needed time, space, and apparently a copy of Time and Space by Turnstile to fully connect with Metric's apocalyptic synth rock. Political undertones throw it back to the early days of Metric. I'm talking before Fantasies, and okay, on Fantasies too. I mean, we've all heard how Gold Gun Girls goes, but what I'm trying to say is that Emily Haynes found a path to that conversation again without it feeling unearned. Delectable synths border Jimmy Shaw's dicey guitar bravado for a wonderful pairing of earworms, and overall, I'm really left puzzled at the fact that not only are Metric devastatingly underrated, but how are they still putting out such densely layered, compelling music that's still up there among their best works? There's like this internal debate, Black Country New Road, Black MIDI, which one is the bigger titan for UK-based music that's very experimental but kind of rock adjacent at the same time? And I'm over here saying, how about both? HELLFIRE is exactly what its name would imply, and they get downright nasty, gritty with the storytelling, as evidenced by the killer single Welcome to Hell that was among my top 20 favorite tracks of the entire year, with other monumental cuts like Sugar and The Race is About to Begin just cutting and weaving in and out of traffic while also causing some big explosions along the way. I cannot recommend the weirdness of this album enough because it takes it up a notch from even their last album, just like Black Country New Road, back-to-back years, back-to-back greatness.
We only click our fingers and we'll disappear. We just skirting on surface.
Radiohead aren't active at the moment, so Radiohead devotees like me have taken a Shining to the Smile, an offshoot band featuring their very own Johnny Greenwood and Tom York, along with the immersive talents of drummer Tom Skinner. Huge atmospheric domes descend like the scrolling text out of a Star Wars movie on the expertly paced delight for attracting attention. The three-piece sounds so tight, locked in, but also chaotic to the point of it feeling surreal, heightened by the lightning quick playing from Johnny Greenwood as he reinvigorates their rockier tendencies. York's songwriting is as potent as ever, even in this new setting. Whether it's a track as icy as Free in the Knowledge, or something that really cuts deep like Panavision, there's a heat sensor to the vision that's quite literally the opposite of so many of these inconsequential side projects. Holy Fawn has to be one of my favorite accidental discoveries ever. I was shuffling through some post-rock playlist on Spotify a couple of years ago, and up comes Dark Stone, a scorching black gaze tune that, I guess as the name would imply, beautifully and shockingly paired elements of black metal, shoegaze, and post-rock ambience. Dimensional Bleed doubles down on their bleak despondency, wrapping each new layer in the visceral intensity of an eternal abyss as walloping guitars and agonizing screams baptize you in fire. The sheer agony I felt dripping out of every pore of the album is unparalleled. I don't even have a solid comparison for anything else that I listened to in 2022, but Holy Fawn took their lead vocalist's obsession with death and somehow made it all feel really beautiful in a morbid, tragic, but not quite utterly hopeless way. Roman Candles didn't impress me. I know that they put out some really good EPs between full lengths, but a 2-minute single as our first taste of Asphalt Meadows? Call me crazy, but I wasn't exactly foaming at the mouth wanting more. A month went by from album release day to me actually putting ears on it, and Our Father Who Art in Heaven, Death Cab have delivered the comeback album of the year. Ben Gibbard's fractured spirit expertly captures the reason why we adored Death Cab for Cutie all those years ago. The members play with a rejuvenated sense of purpose as they explode on impact with a mind-blowingly good I Don't Know How I Survive and the many other diamonds that follow after.
And I will hold it till my dying breath. When I tend the garden, I will think of it.
Australian rock group Gang of Youth traded in anthemic choruses for Angels in Real Time, and I genuinely don't know when the last time or if the last time exists that I heard this good of a journey through grief. Granted, this is a very specific type of grief that's being dealt with because the frontman of Gang of Youths is discovering his own ancestry for the first time, exploring his roots, and getting to know his family after the passing of his father, as evidenced by the incredible track In the Wake of Your Leave. It's really fascinating to see how well the band pulled off some of the more sparse moments of instrumentation. They lead off tracks like Spirit Boy with a bit of self-indulgence, but at the same time, that's not always a bad thing. In fact, I'd argue that the self-indulgence that we see on Angel in Realtime is really just somebody getting to know themselves and becoming the person that they didn't know they were underneath it all.
One by one they open, forever and ever.
I swear Beach House tosses out vials of serotonin like holy water each time they drop an album. And with this Titanic-sized double-decker 90-minute album, this 90 minutes in their world feels a bit like a vacation from the misery of day-to-day life. Divine synths reincarnate the transcendent Pink Funeral, while over and over lifts off in familiar territory without forgetting to bring that newfound spark of life. The Bells jumped out as a last-minute highlight, standing tall in my mind beside the unforgettable Masquerade, Superstar, and the blissful title track. Victoria Legrand's voice serves as the album's backbone, ensuring Beach House still feels like the dreamy duo that they've been for almost 2 decades, but her, alongside her musical twin flame Alex Scally, experimented with bursts of euphoria for a winning spin on their signature sound.
The new Mercedes with black G-Wagon away from, it was all for rap. I was 28 years young, 20 million in tax, bought a couple of mansions just for practice.
This album low-key felt like seeing your dad, who doesn't normally show a ton of emotion, just break down with tears in his eyes, but even more shocking and traumatic than what those initial tears would imply. The Compton rapper denies himself the easy victory lap on Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Damn was 5 years ago, and he could have easily cashed in on his biggest commercial success to date, but instead he waited until the time was right, or maybe at least until the healing had fully begun. In the nearly 80 minutes we spend with him, Kendrick's polarizing politics range from the hypocrite-checking N95 to the repentant anti-diaries that may be awkward in the way that he clumsily initially presents, but overall, I think this is an acceptance story that shows Kendrick leaving his ignorance in the rearview mirror. I've had so much fun blasting the likes of Count Me Out and the beat-driven Laser Silent Hill featuring an unexpectedly great verse from disgraced rapper Kodak Black, but it's daggers to the heart like the so disturbing I Had to Turn It Off on First Listen We Cry Together and the jaw-dropping Mother I Sober that kept me on the hook.
Watching as I started to get dizzy, 'cause I hate all of my habits.
The singer-songwriter genre has sort of been in a state of freefall since the end of the aughts, or maybe the early 10s at best. The over-reliance on superficial adult contemporary tropes felt like a supermarket death wish waiting to happen until Gen Z flipped the script with the stunning Lizzy McAlpine blazing the trail with her fresh perspective. Lizzy's emotive writing often leads to tense, unnerving revelations personally that cut deep into her mind. Acoustic guitars often make appearances as they wrap around vocal cords like a snake ensnaring a victim, but somehow her snake charming abilities lead the ear to a place of relatable tranquility instead. The woman has pipes for days with incredible control and precision, as evidenced by the acapellas, the tearjerker Tiny Desk concert, and most importantly, this lovely album 5 Seconds Flat.
Are you entertained or are you concerned? I'd be afraid, I'd be in church, I'd say a prayer, I pray, I say, I shake.
JID's Forever story is the kind of hip-hop that I just salivate over because it has the hooks, it's got the bars, it of course has the storytelling too. There's so much to grapple with on this hour-long project because there's a lot of soul, a lot of guest spots that make a whole lot of sense. You really get to know an artist with an album like this, and at its core, this is authentic hip-hop that also has some undeniably earwormy moments like Money and surround sound that features an incredible beat switch, but it's some of the deeper cuts like Brudenim, Systonym that really get it right, and the more soulful affectation on tracks like Stars and that closer, it really just is unparalleled compared to most of what you're gonna get in the world of modern rap.
Above the corner, we got Madonna. All I know is I feel fine. Show me a smile and I will show you the love always.
cop-out if it wasn't entirely true, but it is a two-way tie at number 5, Chili Pepper vs. Chili Pepper, Unlimited Love, and The Return of the Dream Canteen. The Red Hot Chili Peppers have been doing the damn thing since 1983, and they turned it again with back-to-back double album goodness featuring the return of guitarist John Frusciante. Up first is Unlimited Love, which struck me is the more conventionally Chili Peppers album of the two, and that is not a complaint. We get so many catchy songs here, led off by Black Summer, featuring other moments like She's a Lover, The Great Apes, some fantastic soloing in between. New elements crept their way into both records as well, and I am loving the brass contributions, but it's the colorful, hypnotic, steady bass from Flea that made me realize just how top-notch his playing and the mixing and production have become. Dream Canteen is more like the acid trip you didn't ask for that's going way better than anticipated. They're throwing riffs at the wall, seeing what sticks as they jam it out, and I really like how you can tell with cuts like Bag of Grins and Reach Out how they evolved by getting in a room and working everything out as a band. Brotherhoods have been restored, the chemistry is as red hot as ever, and to put it bluntly, these dudes who are now in their 60s for the most part have got no right to be this locked into what they're making 13 albums deep, and that includes Anthony Kiedis' zany contributions too.
I'm desensitized, working hard to empathize. Strung out on love addiction and groupies when souls collide.
Denzel's wax on, wax off approach to rap is so refreshing. The guy sets up challenges for himself that he knocks down one by one, like lyrical dominoes hand sliced by the pilot in the X-Wing. Melt My Eyes, See Your Future steps back in time to the more conscious side of hip-hop, a la Taboo, after a couple of more fun projects like Unlocked and Zoo, and this album has so much jazz and swing and soul along with the hip-hop that I can't help but love the combination. Zell casted a wide net with bold, outside of the ordinary guest spots, and arguably made a power play by pumping the unassisted Walkin' as the lead single. And when I say unassisted, I mean no vocal assist needed. Only Denzel, a behemoth beat switch, and some of the fiercest, most wisdom-laced bars he's ever spit. The Florida rap prodigy makes the act of balancing a tightrope feel like he's zipping down a zip line, with the hooks and the depth making it all feel like it balances out in a cakewalk as he segues in and out of thought tangents, while the feisty instrumentals of tracks like Troubles with T-Pain and Worst Comes to Worst showcase a full album hard at work, making sure that all the pieces fall exactly where they're meant to. Pop punk scored a major win as a genre when the Wonder Years revealed the nostalgic lead single Oldest Daughter and announced their first album in 4 years, The Hum Goes On Forever. After a more restrained effort in Sister Cities, Hum sees the guys roaring back to life with bouncing riffs, stabby hooks, and larger-than-life sing-along moments destined to be played live and loud. Most fans would probably agree that the Wonder Years are one of the more mature pop punk bands out there, but this one takes it to a whole new level. They're becoming parents. Depression becomes this whole new beast with age. There's so much to pull from, and instead of going the route of pretending the problems don't exist or wishing them away, they exorcise Dan's demons and claw a path to happiness. Bands that keep blooming with each passing album are a rare treat, but the Beths are proving themselves, just like the back album cover would imply, to be those flowers that are in season no matter what time of year. To me, that's the mark of a fantastic songwriter leading the way in the Beths, and also the backing harmonies in this band are always so on point. They just feel down to earth, relatable. Cuts like 2 AM are something that I think we've all felt at some point. Knees Deep goes ridiculously hard and has no right to be that catchy. The riffs, the vocals, the chorus, everything is an amalgamation of perfection, and they deliver a lot of that, from the title track Expert in a Dying Field to other incredible cuts like A Change in the Weather. Truth be told, if you like alternative, indie, rock, pop, all of the above, then the Beths, hailing from New Zealand, are the next band that you need to fall in love with. Maybe I rightfully got shunned after not really showing much love to Heard It in a Past Life. I felt like her debut album, the Maggie Rogers that we'd all been hearing about, the buzz was astronomical. I just don't really feel like it lived up to the hype, and the producers like Rostam may have meddled a bit too much for its own good. But my 2022 album of the year, Surrender by Maggie Rogers, is the kind of honest vulnerability in the singer-songwriter genre that so beautifully executes this 90s meets 2000s meets a timeless feeling that you do not get enough of in modern music. I was so moved by the vocal arrangements, the performances that Maggie's able to give, but also the production style. Cuts like That's Where I Am, that got me through the door, chomping, breaking it down, wanting more, and Want delivered that in spades, and I knew that I had to pick this thing up. The pensive begging for rain feels like a rejuvenation, like a new form of life, just taking part inside of you and growing like a light you can't contain. That's actually a good metaphor for really the entire experience. Surrender is kind of like a lighthouse. It shines into the dark spaces that we have trouble navigating, and while Maggie often struggles with these things too, it seems, there's a way that she conquers, overcomes, and finds peace that just really passes that piece on to the listener. Whether she's effortlessly sailing through hooks on Be Cool or Want, or getting a little bit deeper and more personal, which can present as awkward at first, but once you dive into the lyrics of tracks like Horses and I've Got a Friend, I just really appreciate that level of sincerity. Thank you guys so much for tuning into my top 25 best albums of the year. I did 5 extra this year and no honorable mentions just because I didn't listen to as many albums, so I condensed it to my top 25. I will throw a couple of honorable mentions in the description. Thank you for watching, liking, subscribing, and I will see you in 2023.